Good day, sir. I am Maximo B. Jr., Bachelor of Science in Criminology for Block B. This video is all about forensic ballistics. Forensic ballistics defined, it is the study of firearm, investigation and identification of firearms by means of ammunition fired through them. So, ang forensic ballistics kuno is study siya sa firearms o firearm investigation and identification of firearms. So, forensic ballistics simply refers to the science of firearms and projectiles in relation to the reconstruction of events leading to a gunshot injury. So, forensic ballistics or also called as a forensic firearm examination kay makatabang siya sa pag-reconstruct sa crime scene involving firearms. Mao na siya ang forensic ballistics. There are three divisions of forensic ballistics. First is the field investigations. Field investigations conducted by the first officers on the case in the field when they investigate a case or cases wherein firearms have been used. So, when we say field, nana siya sa crime scene. Naana dito ang mga, for example is, lagay na dito gigamit is pag ang pusil, firearms din ang iyang trabaho dito sa officer nga naa dito is marking of evidence, preservation, transmittal of ballistics, like fired bullets, fired shells, firearms, and allied matters. Ang second division is the technical examinations of the ballistics exhibits. This is the job performed by the firearms examiners in the laboratory. So there is a stage nga technical examination of ballistics exhibits is ang katong nangakolekta nga mga evidence sa crime scene like fired like cartridge cases or fired bullets is i-examine na diri sa firearms examiners. And then diri pod nga stage is magbuhat na sila og reports on the findings and observations of the firearm examiners. And number 3 is the legal proceedings or court trials, wherein the ballistics report of the firearm examiner and the ballistics exhibits are presented during the trial of the case in the court of justice. So there is a legal proceedings is katong mga resulta sa ilang mga examination or ilang mga report is i-present na dito sa court as evidence. Forum. It is a Latin word from which forensic was derived, meaning a marketplace where people gather for public disputation and or public discussions. Studies concerning forensic ballistics. In 1835, Henry Goddard, in one of his cases in England where a homemaker was shot and killed, he was able to identify the mold mark. The mold is used to manufacture lead balls from molten leads on the field projectile. So ang mold marks is kining mga igo siya sa bullets sa dingding marking tawag na igo sa bullets sa mga dingding. Mao na siya ang mold marks. He was the bullet which could be traced back to the mold. He also examined the paper patch. Iya sang gi-examine ang paper patch. When you say paper patch, this is the paper patch provides the seal between the ball gunpowder firearms. Was able to identify it was having been torn from a newspaper that was found on the room of the guilty servant. So dito nakita sa room sa guilty servant ang paper patch. Sunod si Paul Zisrich, iyang gi-compare ang duha ka bullets using photomicrographs and subsequently individualize them through the minute differences. Sa minute differences iyang gi-test. Sa 1905, Mr. Cockle nagpublish siya og article entitled the expert examination of fired bullets. In 1912, Professor V. Balthazard, he devised a series of procedures to identify fired bullets to the firearms from which they were fired. So si Professor V. Balthazard is nag-devise siya og series of procedure para ma-identify kung unsa nga pusil ang gigamit or unsa nga caliber ang gigamit. O iya pong gistudihan ang firearms by taking an elaborate series of photographs of test fired bullet from the firearms as well as evidence bullet. In 1913, Professor Balthazard nagpublish siya og the first article individualizing bullet markings. In 1922, Mr. C. Williams nagsulat siya article entitled pod nga Fingerprints on Bullets. So ang fingerprints kuno sa bullets ang iya pong article ni Mr. C. Williams, which appeared in Outdoor Life magazine. In 1920, R. E. Herrick nagpublish po siya article nga entitled Ballistics Jurisprudence. On November 1924, Dr. Sidney Smith nagbuhat po siya article concerning the details of the investigating that appeared in the British Medical Journal in January 1926. He relates that he believes that scientific examination of firearms and projectiles in Great Britain had its beginning as a result of the publication of his report on the case. On 1920, Colonel Calvin H. Goddard, U.S. Army, pioneered the introduction of this science in criminology courses in different universities. 1924, Captain Edward C. Ned Crossman, a well-known shooter and sports writer, examined firearms evidence for the Los Angeles County Sheriff in April 1925 in New York City. The Bureau of Forensic Ballistics was established by C. E. White, Major, later Colonel Calvin H. Goddard, Philip O. Gravel, and John H. Fisher. On 1934, Major Sir Gerald Burrard nagbuhat siya libro nga ang title is The Identification of Firearms and Forensic Ballistics, which gi-discuss dito nga in many early cases that occurred throughout the British Empire. In 1935, Major Julian S. Hatcher nagpublish siya og textbook of Firearms Investigation, Identification and Evidence, together with textbook of pistols and revolvers. In 1944, John A. Davis ni-join siya sa Police Department in Oakland, California, establishing its first criminology laboratory. Richard and Mage, they wrote the article entitled Communication on Identification of Fired Bullets and Shells. Arthur Lucas, iya pong gipublish kay kining The Examination of Firearms and Projectiles in Forensic Cases. Next is the subjects of ballistics. Firearms. A firearm is a weapon that fires either single or multiple projectiles propelled at high velocity by the gases produced through rapid, confined burning of a propellant. So, firearms, natay daghan nga firearms. When you say firearms is kining mga pusil, like shotgun, M16, handgun, revolver, 45, muna siya ang mga firearms. The term gun is often used as synonym of firearm, but in specialist use has a restricted sense referring only to an artillery piece with a relatively high muzzle velocity and a relatively flat trajectory, such as field gun, a tank gun, anti-tank gun, or gun used in the delivery of naval gunfire. Firearms are sometimes referred to as small arms. Mga small arms like handgun, revolver, 45, kanang makuan ra nimo siya og isa ka kamot mo ng mga handgun. Firearm technical is an instrument that is used for the propulsion of projectile by means of the expansive force of gases of burning gunpowder. Firearms or arm includes rifles, muskets, carbines, shotguns, pistols, revolvers, and all other weapons from which a bullet, a ball, a shot, a shell, or missiles may be discharged by means of gunpowder or other explosives. So katong naay bullets is mga considered siya as firearms. Firearm in its general context. Firearm is any weapon that uses gunpowder to fire a bullet or shell. So ang firearm kuno is bisag unsa nga weapon basta nagamit lang siya o gunpowder para to fire a bullet or shell. Generally, the term is used for light firearms such as rifles, shotguns, and pistols. They are often called small arms rather. Heavier firearms are generally referred to as artillery. Mechanism. Any firearm, large or small, has 4 essential parts. Naay upat ka essential parts ang firearm bisan og taas siya or gamay. First is the barrel. It is a long tube. It may be smooth as in a shotgun or with spiral grooves on the inner surface as in a rifle. So ang barrel is dito ang bala mag-travel. For example, ang barrel is naa siya lines and grooves like kining murag rotate to the left and rotate to the right para ma-rotate pod ang bullet. Unlike sa shotgun is wala siya lines and grooves, kundi kuan lang siya, smooth lang siya. Ang barrel is kanang dito mag-travel ang bullet. Number 2 is chamber. It is a widened hole at the breech or rear end of the barrel. It holds the cartridge explosive charge. So ang chamber is mao na siya ang widened hole dito sa breech or sa rear dito sa end of the barrel. It holds the cartridge or to explosive charge. Number 3 is a breech mechanism. The breech mechanism closes the rear end of the barrel holding the cartridge in the chamber. 4. Firing mechanism. The firing mechanism may be electric as in some large artillery pieces. In small arms, a spring drives a pointed firing pin through the breech bolt against a sensitive primer in the cartridge. The firing pin is cooked against the hook called the sear. So ang firing mechanism is pwede po siya electric kung sa artillery pieces. In small arms, kuan lang siya kining spring drives pointed firing pin lang siya sa small arms, pero sa some large artillery or large firearms is pwede siya electric. Types of handgun or short guns. Number 1, pistol. A handgun that is magazine fed. It is said that pistols were invented in the Italian town pistoia. Hence, the name pistol arrived in Britain about 1515 as German import. So, ang pistol is handgun na siya, just like 45, caliber 38, 9mm, mga pistol kanang handgun lang. Next is revolver. A handgun with a corresponding cylinder that revolves before the barrel, which consists of different chambers. So ang kining revolver, ang example ani is Magnum 38 kanang Magnum og 38 ang example sa revolver. Origins of firearms. In 13th century, development of firearms followed the invention of gunpowder in Western Europe. Berthold Schwartz, a German monk, and Roger Bacon and English monk are both credited to the gunpowder invention. Most reference books credited Roger Bacon, English monk and scientist, with the invention of gunpowder in 1248. This gunpowder is now called the black powder. In 1118, Moors used artillery against Zaragoza. Early manuscripts tell of several Moorish campaigns in which artillery was used all dating prior to Bacon and Squartz. In 1245, General Batu, the Tartar leader, used artillery in Lignitz when he defeated the Poles, Hungarians, and Russians. So si General Batu is nagamit siya og artillery. Yang napildi ang mga Poles, Hungarians, o Russians. In 1247, one of the earliest recorded uses of firearms in warfare was that a fan attack on civil Spain. So in 1247 is one of the earliest recorded uses of firearms sa fan attack on civil Spain. In 1346, cannons used by King Edward III of England at Crecy. 1453, Muhammad II of Turkey in his famous conquest of Constantinople. First firearms were inefficient, large, and heavy. So ang pinakauna daw nga firearms is inefficient o dako daw kining bugat. Next is the important dates in firearms history. In 1313, gunpowder as a propellant. The age of gunpowder began with its first use as a propellant for a projectile. Such use has been recorded as early as 1313. So sa 1313 pa ang propellant na gamit. In 1350, small arms, gunpowder was first used only in cannons. It was in the middle of the 14th century that portable hand firearms were introduced. These guns were ignited by a handheld hot wire or lighted match. So agkuanan pa siya kining napay mga wire daw katong dagot-dagutan pa bitaw. Kato sa katong handgun sa una, katong dagutan pa. In 1948, the riflings, the first reference to rifled barrels appeared. So sa 1948 pod ang kuan ang rifled na first reference. In 1575, ang cartridge pod, paper cartridge combining both powder and ball were developed. So in 1575 is a paper cartridge pa siya. This greatly speeded loading and reduced the hazards of carrying loose powder. In 1807, precaution system. The discovery of Forsyth in 1807 that certain compounds detonated by a blast would be used to ignite the charge in a firearm. For the basis for all later precautions and cartridge to came into general use. In 1845 rimfire cartridge. In France, Flaubert developed a bullet breech cap, which was in reality the first rimfire cartridge. So sa France, si Flaubert i-develop niya ang bullet breech cap, which was in reality the first fire cartridge. So sa reality mao ni siya ang first fire cartridge, ang bullet breech cap. In 1858, center fire cartridge. The Morse cartridge of F1858 marked the beginning of the rapid development of the center fire cartridge. In 1884, automatic machine gun. Hiram Maxim built the first fully automatic gun utilizing the recoil of the piece of load and fired the next charge. So sa 1884 is na develop din ang automatic machine gun. In 1885, smokeless powder. In France, Civil developed the first satisfactory smokeless powder. So sa France gi-develop ni Ville ang first satisfactory smokeless powder, a new propellant which not only lacked the smoke characteristics of black powder but also more powerful. So dili lang kay giblock niya ang smoke characteristics of black powder but also powerful pud siya. The barrel of any firearm is considered a complete firearm for purposes of Section 877 of the Revised Administrative Code. So ang barrel sa firearm is makonsidered gyapon siya nga complete firearm according to the Section 877 of the Revised Administrative Code. Rifle. Long rifle bored firearm designed to hit targets at a greater or longer distance with spiral grooves to fire only a single shot. Rifle is mo ni siyang mga long firearms designed to targets a greater longer distance. Pwede siya magamit sa mga lagyo nga target. Next is musket, a long smooth bored firearm that is designed to prepare a single shot. Ang kining musket is just like ini shotgun, kining long smooth barrel lang siya, then single shot. Shotgun, long smooth bored firearm having a barrel of 25 to 30 inches long and designed to shoot birds in flight. Long smooth bored firearm and breech loading designed to fire a number of lead pellets or shot in one charge. So ang kining shotgun is dili siya pareha sa lain nga firearm, is kini siya is smooth barrel lang siya, unlike sa uban nga naa siya kining lance and grooves. Ang shotgun is smooth lang siya. Next is a carbine, a short barrel rifle having a barrel not longer than 22 inches, and it is designed to fire a single shot through a rifle bore, either semi-automatic or full automatic, for every press of the trigger. Next is a 22, minimum caliber 19 to 18, if only used as toys, could not be considered as firearm. Barrel of any firearm position of any part of a firearm is considered a violation of illegal position of firearm. The followings are contributors in firearms development. First is Colonel Calvin H. Goddard, U.S. Army, father of modern ballistics. Colonel Calvin H. Goddard, father of modern ballistics. And then si Horace Smith founded the great firm Smith and Wesson and pioneered the making of breech loading rifles. So siya ang pioneered sa pagbuhat sa breech loading rifles. Og si Daniel B. Wesson, an associate or partners of Smith in revolver making. So si Daniel B. Wesson is associate siya or partner ni Smith sa pagbuhat sa revolver. Si John M. Browning, wizard of modern firearms, and pioneered the breech loading single shot rifle. So iyang wizard siya pioneered sa breech loading single shot rifle, si John M. Browning. Si John T. Thompson pioneered the making of Thompson submachine gun. So si John T. Thompson pod ang nagbuhat pod sa Thompson submachine gun. Og sunod si David Carbine Williams, maker of first known carbine. So siya ang nagbuhat sa pinakauna nga carbine, si David Carbine Williams. Sunod si Alexander John Forsyth, father of percussion ignition. Si Elsa King Root designed machinery of making Colt firearms. Si Elphalet Remington, one of the first rifle makers. So si Elphalet Remington is isa siya sa mga first rifle makers. Si John Malone Marlin, founder of Marlin Firearms Company. James Wolfe Ripley stimulated the development of the model 1855 rifled musket.